Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Michelson, and I'm so excited you're here. Today, we are talking with Aimee Carlson. Aimee is the Toxin Terminator. She's the host of the Toxin Terminator podcast, a best-selling author, a certified toxicity and detox specialist, and a featured guest expert on numerous podcasts and summits. Aimee has spent the last 7 years removing hidden toxins from her own home to be free of chronic disease and has helped hundreds do the same. Through her podcast, she's had access to some of the top doctors, healers, experts, and industry leaders in the natural health and wellness field. Aimee's passion is giving hope to those who are still suffering, getting no relief from traditional medicine, and ready to take control by detoxing and cleansing their health and their environment. Welcome, Aimee. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm dying to find out how you became the Toxin Terminator. Tell us a little bit about that.
You bet. So my entire adult life, I suffered from a lot of different chronic diseases. Number one, I had hormones that were all over the place. I had a lot of reproductive issues happening. I was diagnosed in menopause at the age of 36. I had a partial hysterectomy at the age of 37. Now, mind you, most women enter menopause at 47. That's the average age that we enter menopause. I had periods that sometimes I just didn't even want to leave the house because I didn't think that I was going to be able to plug the dam, so to speak, right? Lots of issues going on, lots of cramping, just not a pleasant experience. I had headaches every single day of my entire adult life. Not a day that went by. And I attribute it to being in a high stress job. Now, what a lot of people don't understand or know about me is that I was the only 100% female automotive franchise in North America for 30 years.
Wow.
So I worked on cars for a living. That's what I did. And I had 5 service centers in the state of Iowa. I employed thousands of people. And so this was high stress. Everything that was happening to me physically, the doctors would always say it's stress, but that's all they said.
Right.
They say, do this, do that, anything like that. In fact, I would have, with the headaches, I also started getting migraines later on. And the migraines would put me out. I would get them a couple of times a month to start with, and then they became more frequent. And towards the end, I lost vision on the left side. It was completely gone.
Oh, wow.
From the migraine headaches. But where was I beforehand? They don't tell you your job is high stress, right? They tell you that, but they don't tell you what to do about it. Other than, let me get my prescription pad out and let me write you a prescription, which I did. I took the prescriptions, and that only caused more problems with my body than what was already going on. I was literally hopping from doctor to doctor to doctor, trying desperately to have energy, trying desperately to sleep, trying desperately to feel like I wasn't crawling out of my skin. And I just, I was going to talk about the high stress causing things to go on. Sometimes things aren't that chronic disease, right? They're just bizarre things that happen. And so one time I woke up in the morning and you couldn't even tell I had a jawline. My entire side of my face was ballooned up. And I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Scary.
I had an abscess. They literally had to do surgery, cut open my face, stick tubes in that I had to go back daily to have changed out, and all this drainage happening. Again, you have an abscess. Well, why do I have an abscess?
Right.
I don't know. You just do. Another time I woke up in the morning and I had a canker sore. Not a big deal, right? Lots of people get canker sores. I had 100 inside my mouth and down my throat.
Wow.
It's like, what? Where is this coming from? So I knew in the automotive world, I was exposed to a lot of toxins. I get that. We have 2 government agencies that watch over everything that we do. And so I knew the chemicals we worked with, what was coming out of the car, bad stuff, right?
Sure.
And there's certain things that we have to do to protect ourselves. But what I didn't know is that the stuff I was using every single day inside my home were also toxic. And
say that again. I want to make sure everyone catches that one.
The stuff that we use every single day inside our home is toxic.
Thank you.
It's toxic. And listen, I when I married my husband 17 years ago, we're coming up on an anniversary. He was into like manifestation, and he was into meditation, and he was into healthy foods. And I'm like, you keep that stuff on over there. And I'm just going to keep on doing this whole doctor route because it's working so well.
Yes, really treating my body so well. Yeah.
To be, because I thought being healthy, or not even being healthy, I just thought if you weren't doing what the doctors told you to do, then you're like one of those hippie guru kind of people that run around singing Kumbaya and you don't shower and so you stink. And I had this false pretense of what it was. But I had this friend that invited me to learn about essential oils. And again, I'm like, no.
Woo woo. Yeah.
Doctors can't heal me. How in the world are your little bottles of whatever you say it is going to help me out? But I was opened enough to learn. And I'm grateful today because essential oils were my gateway drug to learning about how the body works. Mm. And I was able to heal myself, not just because of essential oils, but because of what I learned. I became the sponge and I just began learning. And the more I learned, the madder I got.
I remember that phase. Well, yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Here in the automotive industry, I've got the OSHA and I have the EPA governing everything I do, everything, even things I don't do. Consumers can bring stuff to me and drop it off in my lot in the dead of night, and now I'm responsible for it.
Right.
Even what I'm doing, right? And stuff that we use every single day inside our home.
Yep.
One governing body has ever tested the safety of those ingredients. Not one.
No. And people have no idea because it makes no sense. Who would even imagine? Like, how could that be?
How can the government?
They're there to protect us.
It's there for our good, well-being of us and others, right? We can go there if you want. But
let's not. We don't have that much time today.
So this is a long story, and I apologize. But as I learned, there's 86,000 chemicals on the marketplace today, and every year we're adding thousands more. And there isn't anything that's testing it for safety. In fact, our government says, prove it's not safe.
Right.
Prove it's not.
And we may add a little label. We'll still let people sell it. We'll just stick a little label on it. Yeah.
So I wanted to give this a voice. If I didn't know this, surely there's a whole lot of other people that don't know this. And I wanted to be able to give this a voice. And so I created the Toxin Terminator podcast because we're terminating toxins. And I just wanted to reach the masses.
Well, I, for one, am so grateful you do what you do. As you know, reducing our toxic exposure is part of, we both have our detox specialist certifications, and it's a big part of what I do with all my clients. But I joke, I have the certification that, says I'm a specialist. I'm not a specialist. There's so much information that it really takes somebody like you who this is your sole focus.
This is my lane.
This is so your lane. And again, this is, I feel that, people ask, we talk about root causes. I work with autoimmunity, we talk about chronic illness and root causes, and there's never one root cause. No. They're always interwoven, and toxic burden is always part of it. It doesn't necessarily matter. It's at the top of the list, but it is definitely there. And it's just such an empowering area for people of once they start learning. And again, everybody goes through that phase of they're so angry. They can't believe, oh my gosh, I've been using toxins in my tooth. I just had a client say to me, we changed her toothpaste. And she said to me, oh my gosh, my toothpaste doesn't burn my mouth anymore. My whole life, my toothpaste has burned my mouth. I thought toothpaste burned everybody's mouth.
Yeah, we normalize. Here's
Yes.
You and I had this conversation before.
We have.
Normalize not feeling good.
Yes.
We normalize it hear me out with this. Have you ever said to yourself, well, I'm over 50 now?
Well, right? I haven't, but I hear it all the time, but that's only because I feel better over 50 than I did in my 40s and 30s. So
how many people say it's just part of aging?
No.
All my friends are on medications. We have no idea what it feels like to feel good as a society. We don't. We have no idea.
No. Yes.
We've been here. We've been in this pain. We've been in this despair. We've been at that place where you're like, but even down in those deepest, darkest despair moments, we are still saying, there's got to be an answer. This is not how God intended me to live this life here on earth. There has to be something that I can do. And we just didn't stop. We just kept moving forward, trying the next thing and the next thing until we found solutions. And then we get to experience it's like on a mountain, right? When we're at the bottom of the mountain, we have this view and we think it's pretty darn good, right? It's beautiful out here. I love this. And we start climbing the mountain and we're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And we get to the top of the mountain and it's like blow you away.
And it never stops getting better. People ask me all the time, well, how long did it take you to heal? And I still to this day, if you ask me today, I think I couldn't possibly feel better. And yet I know from experience that in 6 months, I'm going to turn around and be like, wow, I feel even better than I did. It is amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of chronic disease. And if you can dive into, for the audience, a little bit, just kind of, touch on epigenetics and why it is that you could have been so sick and now you're so well. And I could have been so sick and now I'm so well. And so let's talk a little bit about chronic illness and epigenetics and how we really can take control.
So the philosophy and the science of epigenetics is fairly new. It's only been around for, 10, 20 years now, maybe. And the pretense, I'm going to make it super, super simple. Okay. The pretense is we all have genes. Everybody's got genes inside their body, right? And why do you get a head cold and I get pneumonia? Why does, you get, the COVID virus and you're hospitalized and I don't? Why do I get cancer and the next person doesn't get cancer? So the genes are there for all these things. And I mean cancer, high blood pressure,
Really any expression. I just was reading a study, of course, about autoimmunity. A study about identical twins, right?
Yes.
So same identical gene pool, and one expresses rheumatoid arthritis and one does not. One expresses, lupus, one does not. So explain how that's possible.
Everybody has these genes inside their body. We have to have a trigger that turns them on, right? There has to be a trigger that turns them on. What's the trigger? The toxin. Toxins are the trigger that turn the genes on. And the good news is if we can turn it on, we can turn it off too. And that is like, hallelujah, how empowering is that? So the and we don't know, it might be a multitude of toxins. It might not be one. Is it mold? Is it heavy metals? Is it a hidden infection? Is it a general toxicity? Is it parabens? Is it sulfates? Is it
stress?
Is it stress?
Stress.
Is it
Yeah.
words speaking over our life? Are we creating it into existence? Because my mom had such and such, I know I'm going to, right? So who knows? I like to tell it like this. Our health is a jigsaw puzzle. And in order for us to have, good health and this beautiful health, we have to have all the pieces fit together in all the right places. And so when we're looking at, it's never just one cause.
Right.
You know this. It's never just one thing. It's a multitude of things. And so when we're repairing and we're restoring, it's never just one thing either. We have to look at a multiple of things. But like that mountain and the top of the mountain and the beautiful view we have, when we come to restoring our health, we can't look at the whole mountain.
Right.
Take it one piece at a time, one little chunk at a time, so it's not overwhelming. And then, and with each little tiny step that we take, we're going to have restoration in the body.
I love that. I think of epigenetics as, like just switches, like literally like an old school switchboard. Yep. And every little thing, every toxin you remove from your home, every step you take, every food that your body thinks is a toxin that you remove, every thought pattern you change, all of those things, every good night's sleep, start to turn those switches back off and allow your gene expression to be that of full vitality and health beyond, I always say, beyond what I can imagine. People say, oh, I want to do what you did. I want to get off all my meds and I want to feel amazing. And I'm like, well, let's get you to, let's feel amazing. Like, I know sometimes medication has its place sometimes. And I always say, I never know how much improvement anybody's going to get, right? I've had people come to me. I had a client come to me at 72 with 70 years of an autoimmune expression. So I certainly wasn't going to say, oh, I promise you won't have any symptoms. I said, but I know we can move the needle. And I say this every time. It's always better than I think it's going to be. It just, the body is designed to heal. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because so many of us went through a period. So many are out there and don't know. They've been told by their doctors, like you were, like I was, this just is. You just have to live with this. We'll give you meds for the symptoms.
I don't speak badly of the doctors that I saw, because they know any better.
No,
they're not taught to look at root causes. They're not taught to look at lifestyle. They're not taught to look at food. They're not taught that.
I'm going to steal your mountain analogy, because they only see their little section of the path, right? I was treated by a rheumatologist. They study the problem with, or not even the problem, just the fact is they're all trained to specialize in their little compartment of the body. And that's one of the gifts, I believe, functional medicine is. Functional medicine docs are trained to step back and look at that whole mountain and take into account all of those parts and pieces. And we are whole bodies.
Brain fog?
Yes.
Have anything to do with the brain. It might have to do with what's going on down here in the gut, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It.
So now that we've established, big surprise, you believe the body can heal, you've experienced it, you see it all the time. Tell me, help our audience out there, because as you mentioned, there's so many toxins we're exposed to. Give us some nuggets of, what are some of the top toxins, if you will?
We're going to break it down to 4.
Okay. Yes.
And the 4th one is a little big, but we're going to break it down to 4. Here's the thing. When we're overwhelmed, when we think there's too much information coming at us at once. What do? We do nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much for the brain to process.
Yep.
The 4 worst offenders that we really want to pay attention to are mold, heavy metals, hidden infections, and general toxicities. All right. Now I'm going to give you guys a tip in each one of those categories. Would that be okay?
Please. Absolutely.
Okay. So mold. Everybody thinks mold and they think about wet water damage. They think about what, a sink leak or a shower leak or a storm damage or something like that.
Visible mold they can see.
Visible mold that they can see. They don't know about, the stuff that's hidden in here. And that is absolutely can happen. And that absolutely takes place. But I want you to go in and look at your food. I want you to look at specifically anything that is grain oriented, anything that is dealing with coffee or nuts. These 3 types of foods have a lot of mold in them.
Oh my gosh, you're giving me Dave Asprey flashbacks from my bulletproof training back in the day.
Right. But we need to look at our food as being an option. So if we have somebody come in and they test our house for mold, we know that the body says we have mold, right? We've been tested and we've done a meta-oxy test or a mycotoxin test or a hair follicle test. And we know the body says we've got some mold toxicity going on here. We need to fix it. And it comes back and they're like, there is no mold in your home. There's no mold in your workplace. So what else can we look at? We have to take a dive into our food. And this is another reason why it's so important to know the sourcing of your food and to eat organic as much as humanly possible. All right. So don't negate the food side of it. Think about how I grew up in the Midwest, how grains are stored. You have horses. Hey, you got mold.
I don't even feed them moldy hay. I mean, I check their hay before I feed it. And sadly, where it goes, everybody, the moldy hay that is to mean, doesn't qualify for horse feed will go to be cattle feed.
Yeah. And
there are cattle farmers around here. When I get a stack of moldy hay, at the end of the season, I'll just post a little like, who wants free hay? And, and that's in that food rotation. And these are not the same ranchers that I get my grass-fed meat from. These, because I don't want to eat that.
Right. We don't want to eat. And that's unfortunate. So that's my tip in mold.
Love that.
Heavy metals. Hang on a second.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry. I've just got a tickle in my throat. Heavy metals. Where are they? There are a lot of places. They're in our food, water, air. They're everywhere. But let's look at water. Here's my tip for you guys, because I want to give you actionable steps. I want you guys to walk away from this podcast and go, oh my gosh, I can go to this website and I can look this up. So water is a really big source of our heavy metals. And EWG.org is a website, the Environmental Working Group. They've got thousands of scientists that work there that are, researching for the consumer. And what they have is a tab called water. Go figure. And within that tab, if you click on that tab, you can type in your municipality's zip code, and that will tell you what is in the water that's coming into your tap.
Knowledge is power. People, take this tip and look and see.
Right. And I could tell you filter, but unless you know what is there, you know what to filter. You don't know what type of filter that you need. And my other tip when it comes to water is everybody hears, drink clean water, drink filtered water. Please do not drink out of a plastic bottles.
I love you. Say that one again too, please.
Stop drinking out of plastic bottles. Plastic bottles that you're using to put your filtered water into, or B, just buying plastic water bottles, first of all, half the time they're no better off than what you're getting out of your tap. But secondly, they're worse off because you don't know how long they've been sitting out in the sun or the heat or the exposure that they've gotten. And now they're leaching all of the toxins from the plastic inside the water.
Oh, but Aimee, what about BPA-free plastic? Because most of the water bottles now say that.
Well, let's talk about that.
And you know that, who was the one in the group of all of us that pay so much attention to all of this walking around with her big glass water bottle at the conference 2 weeks ago?
Stainless steel container.
Yep.
I'll fill up with my stainless steel container.
Yep.
BPA free is great. We're taking a step in the right direction, but they've replaced it with BPS, which is even more toxic than the BPA. So if you think you're doing good for your body by eliminating the plastic with the BPA free, please think again. It's not good. Do not use it. And it's not even good for the environment.
No, and that's another point where I think, tempers can flare because again, here somebody thinks they're taking a step to do the right thing and make sure maybe you're using a refillable water bottle and you've specifically got a BPA free one, but it's not enough. It's just not enough.
It's not enough. Glass or stainless steel. Those are your two good options there. All right. So we're filtering more than that. We want to filter the whole house. And if you are in a rental property, you are in something that you're leasing, it's temporary, you're like, I don't know that I want to go to that expense. I have two options for you. Number one is Aquasana has a shower filter. So get it.
They're having a sale right now too. Maybe not by the time this airs, but.
And if you've got a link, share your link. Otherwise, I've got links on my website as well. Secondly, so that's a great option for you. And secondly is there are many water companies out there that rent their equipment. So they will.
I know that.
Yep. They are down here in Arizona. Boyet, one of them. They will set you up with the stuff that you rented. I think we pay like, I don't know, $40, $45 a month for it.
That's amazing.
And then they replace, equipment and all of that stuff. So check that out. That's an option too.
That is fantastic. And I know I don't want to make it longer because we are getting close to time, but I can't stop myself. And I know you and I could talk for hours.
We can.
Because I hear it all the time. So I have to throw this one back to you. Why do I need to filter my water out of my shower? I'm not drinking the water in the shower.
All right. Your skin, and depending on the ingredients that you are using, are we okay? I got it.
Yep.
20 seconds to 2 minutes. It takes for those chemicals to be absorbed into the skin, into the bloodstream. It can be actually detected.
Okay. So unless you're taking less than 20 seconds to take your shower, then the chlorine and the fluoride and the and that's in your water is going to absorb into your body through your skin.
Chlorine, chloramine, fluoride, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, heavy metals, you name it, they are in preservatives. They are in the water sources and they are absorbing into our skin, the largest organ of our body. So please do me a favor. If all you do is put a shower filter on, please do that. You will notice the biggest difference with your skin and your hair immediately.
It's fantastic. I had the opportunity to build my home that I'm in right now. And my favorite part of this home is my whole house water filter. It's just my favorite part. It is. Okay. So infections, tell us about infections.
Hidden infections are exactly that. They're hidden. Right? So the area that we're going to be looking at is the oral cavity. You could have had wisdom teeth pulled when you were younger and it just didn't heal up properly. Not that you have pain or anything like that, but there's a cavitation. And what happens is that bacteria is allowed to get into the bloodstream, and it's just constantly feeding this negativity into the bloodstream and causing inflammation and disease inside the body that we're not even aware of. Maybe you had a root canal that didn't heal properly. My holistic dentist will not do root canals. And I'm so grateful for that, because many times root canals release the bacteria into the bloodstream as well if they're not performed correctly. And and so there we're getting all kinds of disease and inflammation occurring because of that. Lyme disease is also considered a hidden infection. So with a hidden infection, this is the one where you really do need to go to a practitioner that can with you, someone like you, Julie, or myself, that we're going to be able to walk you through the process of knowing whether we have something like that we're dealing with the body.
Yep. And I always say, we start with the basics, right? We know we need to clean up our house and our water and our food and all those things that you can do with or without the support of somebody like Aimee or myself. And when you don't feel 100%, when you've done all these things, then that is the time to find somebody who can really take you by the hand and get that extra testing done, find a functional medicine practitioner, a coach who can order you some lab and look, dig deeper. I'm one who I like everybody to feel better as quick as they can. Not everybody can afford to hit every single area at once, right? And so we go for the obvious. We know we're being exposed to all these things. And then if we don't move that needle like we should, we look at the layers of the toxins, unless if you hit a bullseye, if you had mono as a kid, you might have Epstein-Barr that's active, things like that. But otherwise, it's like a detective hunt. It really is like a detective hunt.
It truly is. And it's, it's generalizing what everybody needs, but then getting very specific. We heard at the biohacking conference that the future is very personalized health, because we know your gut microbiome is different than my gut microbiome, right? My skin microbiome is different than yours. My chemical and minerals and all of that is different than, so what works for you might not be the answer for me. I'm excited.
It is exciting. It's exciting to have, we know this in our circles, but it's exciting to have labs and, medicine in general moving in this direction and catching up. It's
yes, it's not a one size fits all answer, because it's not.
So I want to cover, you talked about this general toxicity, which I'm guessing has something to do with all those household toxins and things you were talking about.
Yes. So think about it. When I got ready this morning, I took a shower. I washed my hair. I washed my face. I used shampoo, conditioner. I used body wash. I even shaved my legs this morning.
Wow, you probably smell really good.
Used deodorant. I put makeup on. I put, found conditioner or moisturizer on my skin. Used some hair product. So I literally used about 200 different ingredients, chemicals this morning when I was getting ready. And this is what we're talking about with general toxicity. Do you know what's inside those products? Do you know what is in the products that you're using to clean your house, wash your dishes with, do your laundry with? These are the things that we need to pay attention to, because we're using them every single day. My friends, when I changed what I cleaned my house with and what I did laundry with, guess what? My headaches stopped. I have not had a migraine headache for 8 years.
That is amazing. Amazing. And I know you said, it's a process, but I'm going to remind the listeners that you don't have to do this all at once. This is, there are so many different ways to attack it. You can go room by room. You can go as you run out of a product to replace it with do your homework first. I always say, find, what are you going to try? Do the research as to what's really clean. And I do love ewg.org for that. It's a great resource to shortcut. Good. Yes. Give us a better one.
ewg.org is fantastic. I gave you them for the water, and they do have a lot of resources. However, when it comes to the products we use every day at home, they're lacking. They don't have them all in there. So think Dirty
Okay.
app you can download on your phone, literally thousands. And if your product is not listed, they even have MLM companies on there. So
Wow.
even if your product is not listed, you can email them, they'll research it and they'll get it on, and they will.
Wow, that's amazing. And I have to say, there are so many options for truly clean products now. I'm always the first to admit I'm not that good. I don't make my own household cleaners. I don't want to. I tried it once. I didn't like it. But that was also years and years ago. Now there are just no excuses. It's just too easy to get your hands on clean products.
Now, one thing that I will tell everybody, there's two things I'm going to say right now. Number one is I do offer, and I've got to look and see where it is on my website because I'll get you a link, Julie. I offer a live Zoom virtual call with me where I'm going to have you open up your bathroom cabinets, and I'm going to have you open up your laundry room cabinets, and I'll help you identify what is bad, what is good, what to replace them with. The second thing, and I do that, and it's $199, but you got me for the hour. And trust me, we will get through your entire house.
Wow. What a resource.
It is a great resource. Secondly, companies know we're looking for safe products.
Greenwashing. Talk about greenwashing.
And so what they're doing is they're using words on the front of the packaging, just like they do with food, fat-free, keto-friendly. Okay, great. But turn that around and start looking at those ingredients. And here's the problem when it comes to our personal care. They use those words, dermatology, tested, hypoallergenic.
Natural is a good one. Wow. Well, mercury's lead's natural. I don't want it in my lipstick. Thank you.
In there. Exactly. They know that there's certain buzzwords, that we are looking for, and they're using them in their marketing. The front of the package is marketing, my friends. Turn it around and read the label. When it comes to our cleaning products and many of our personal care products, they don't have to list everything. If you look at laundry soap, you look at your cleaners, your household cleaners, it will say active ingredients and list whatever those are. And then inactive ingredients, 98%.
So there's hidden stuff.
What do you do as a consumer? That's where the app like Think Dirty is hugely beneficial because they've gone to the website, they've gotten the list of ingredients, and they've put it out there for you. So
great resource.
To turn it around, because you do not know how many clients that I work with. They're like, but I've got, what is it, Mrs. Myers or?
Yes, that was one of my personal frustrations because when I had no idea, when I was just starting this, I thought I was buying something that was truly clean. And I used Mrs. Myers thinking I was doing my family a favor. And it's a pet peeve of mine. So I know you also have another gift. I know, audience members can reach out and they literally can bring you into their home and go through their cabinets. That is so cool. But you also have a free gift for the audience, your toxic risk assessment. And that link will be in the show notes, you guys. So you gave everybody so many tips on, how we can address our water and what to look for and how to find and mold and metals and, looking for infections and these general toxicities. It's a lot. And I invite everybody to listen to this several times and or take notes when you listen, because there's so much gold in here. But I ask everybody at the end of the episode for one small step. So this may be hard for you because I'm going to ask you to back it up of all the things you mentioned. If someone is really just starting out, what is the one doable action step they can take that can start to move that needle and improve their health?
Buy products that are fragrance free.
Yes.
Not unscented, fragrance free. If you see you want to see fragrance free on the label, and if you've made that one step, it's huge. It's going to move the dial in a big way for you. Oh
my gosh. And more gold. I mean, that is I love that. Aimee knows I am somebody who, if you aren't using fragrance-free products and you get near me, it's a problem for me. So I'm not sensitive. And I think that's just such great advice. And I love again, not unscented. That's always driven me crazy. I buy something, I use it again, before I knew I would buy unscented thinking there's no fragrance in there and it would still give me a migraine.
The unscented, here for your audience, has all of the chemicals in it from the fragrance and then more chemicals added to mask the smell. So it's even more chemically burdened than the fragrance product.
There you go.
Crazy.
Aimee, thank you so much. Guys, check Aimee out. She is the Toxin Terminator. I have a feeling if I get my way, you are going to hear another episode with her in the not too distant future. But we've got to start taking control, and taking control of the toxins in, on, and around us is such a great place to start to reclaim our health.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.